Hey, this is Matthew Harvey here with the 12 o'clock Siren, recording live at the 903 Broadband Studios at the Cowboy Corner on the southeast side of the downtown Leonard Square. On my left hand is James 100K Hartley.
That's me. I'm about 1K today, though.
1K?
Yeah. I haven't done much today.
Does your Apple Watch keep up with your steps in Ks?
It's not an Apple Watch. It's a Garmin.
Does your Garmin's?
It can, but I'm an American. Damn it.
So it's by, what, feet or miles?
Yeah, and just steps.
Okay, steps.
Yeah.
Steps is like a new method of measurement now.
Yeah, it is.
Don't go by feet anymore, it's steps.
It's all steps, man. I haven't done much today. I've only got about 3,000, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Working from home, huh?
Working from home.
All right, this is our second episode in a row in which we have a returning guest.
We do.
Is that right?
It is. On our left is Coy Clements of Sidewinder Jiu Jitsu fame.
What up?
What up?
I'm back.
Thanks
I'm
for,
back.
Thanks
Couldn't
for coming
stay
back.
away. Yeah,
Welcome back to
Could
the
not stay
Siren.
away. Could not stay away. It was fun. Last time we had a good time, dude.
We did.
Had a great time.
But you're drinking water this time.
I am drinking water this time. I got to cut a little weight.
Okay.
Watching that girlish figure.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
You said something about tournament season. Will you be participating?
Yeah, man. I did. I will be. Did last year. Injured my knee. Had to have surgery, and so.
So do it again.
I know, right? I know. Oddly enough, I injured it in training. I didn't injure it at a tournament. So we're gonna. I got to lead the way for the team. You know, I can't let them go out there alone. So
lead from the front.
What'd your doctor say?
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't. The same
They
thing.
always say that, though.
Yeah. Same thing they said with every injury I've had for the last 20 years in jiu-jitsu. So.
Professor Mike injured himself too, didn't he?
Yeah, terrible.
Also training, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was it at the gym?
Yeah. Of course, I think he had some extenuating circumstances that kind of forced him to reconsider how he approaches jiu-jitsu. But
sure.
yeah, he had a pretty serious injury. It's one of the worst ones I've seen. And it was just kind of a freak deal.
Something to do with his pecs or his bicep?
Yeah, he tore the insertion where the pec inserts into the shoulder girdle there. He tore it completely off.
I bet that tickled.
Yeah, it did actually. I mean, he came. I remember after it happened, he winced, and of course I looked over there, and we were all training.
Started giggling.
He really didn't act like it was all that terrible of a deal for about the first 30, 45 seconds, and then he stood up and tried to raise his arm over his head.
And it was like
no-go. Yeah, that was a no-go, man. Then he had a ball up underneath his armpit, and I thought, yeah, buddy, we're going to have to get that looked at.
I wonder if it's kind of like an ACL tear or something where oh man, it hurts, but then you're kind of like, oh, okay, I'm all right.
He said he felt a pop.
Yeah.
So I guess and I've torn LCLs in my knee and stuff like that. Just athletes. What was he doing? Man, he was jiu-jitsu terminology.
Choking somebody out.
Yeah, he was with one of our bigger boys, and it was a freak deal. He was just up underneath him trying to lift him up and flip him over to his back, and nothing real spectacular. Yeah. He wasn't in a weird compromised position. He just lifted him up, and I saw him lift up and push up with his left arm, and he kind of winced and pulled his arm back down. And I guess I would equate that to if you ever watch one of those videos where they're lifting weights and they're pushing and nothing spectacular, just lifting. Dude tears a bicep
at the right angle.
Just tears a bicep, and you're like, well, I mean, how did it happen? I don't know. I tell him it's because he's on that daggum carb-free diet. He don't eat enough damn red meat.
I haven't had a carb since 2006.
That's pretty much it. He's like, I don't eat carbs no more. I'm like, well, that's the problem. You need some carbs. Get fat.
I saw him. I mean, he obviously kind of backed out a little bit of an active role, but I think
terrible. That was a big deal for us. That hurt.
Oh, sure. I think a couple of months ago I saw a picture. Was he back up there?
He dropped in briefly.
Yeah.
But
sure, he's got to be. I mean, he's got a full-time job.
Yeah,
so.
he does. He's got a full-time job. He's federal officer, right. So they're a little bit more strict on injuries, attendance, capabilities,
sure.
whatnot. But when he first started, I thought, man, the sky's the limit for us as a gym. We've got 2 black belts. We're both fighters capable. We were rocking and rolling, and then that's all it takes is for one of the wheels to go down, and the car just goes into a tailspin. So it was a big loss for us. Ultimately, I think I'm hoping that maybe he'll reconsider after time goes by. It was pretty for him. It was his first, I guess what I'd say, significant injury.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's kind of jarring for him. He had a lot of time off that he had to miss. It was a big surgery. I mean, he's got a scar about a foot long.
Oh, wow.
Down the inside of his pec. So
Yeah, he needs some time to psychologically recoup.
That's what I said. I said you take your take your time. If you got to bow out and stay out, I totally understand.
Sure.
But at the time, I mean, I took it. It was a big blow to me too. I mean, because I lost my training partner. So
sure. Well, and I mean, with his type of full-time work, he might need jiu-jitsu to save his life one day. So you got to be tender about that stuff. You know,
it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So and but it would be the first time I've seen somebody be able to, I say be able in a situation where they have to walk away. I've seen a lot of guys in a situation like that. They get hurt, especially as we get older. You know what I mean? I mean, we're both a little older. I'm not 20 years old anymore.
I wrote this down in my phone today because 2 nights ago I pulled my pinky folding socks. I don't know what it did, but I just thought to myself, I just pulled my pinky folding socks.
Oh yeah, man. There's nothing worse than just straining the living hell out of your back when you're bending over to tie your shoes. Right?
Much better story than flipping somebody over jiu-jitsu
That's
style.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's a bad thing about the gym, but tell me some of the good things. I need to make a disclaimer here. I think we talked about the first time you were here. My kids attend. I have attended and will be in the future. So my kid's been there now for 2 years, I think.
Yeah,
over 2 years.
Your opinion. So basically, the situation we're getting at here is what your disclaimer is. Your opinion doesn't count because you're family, right? So
because I'm biased. I've seen personally, look, my kids are not super athletes, and so in small town rural communities, a lot of times that carries a weight. Like if you're not an athlete, you're I don't know, somehow less than or something. But then I see my kids go to jiu-jitsu and it kind of equals everything because you don't have to be some super studly athlete to be a good practitioner of jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the history of it, I mean, that's what it was. That's what it was made for.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the guys that were the practitioners of it. None of them were these spectacular athletes. Yeah. Now, I mean, obviously you take a great athlete, you put them in that
it's
capacity.
A more capable person.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot different. They got more tools, but I mean, my son's been doing it since he was 5.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You take a look at, of course, he's on the mat every night, and parents get to see him, and they get to see, well, this is the progression of the trade. Right. I always call it a trade as opposed to a martial art, but this is the progression of the trade from 5 years old to 15, and by the time they get to 15, you've got a very capable man killer on your hands as far as, and I don't mean that in that way, just a very devastating physical capacity.
Yeah.
Even in a young boy's body, he doesn't really understand it, but it's not
capable
like any
individual.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's not like any other martial art. I mean, when you got a 15-year-old that can get out on the mat with a 300-400 pounder and he'll hook the heck out of them.
Did you guys see the wrestlers from OU that took out the football?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. But I mean, that's a prime example. I mean, of what grappling and MMA is. I mean, what the capacity is.
Stupid linebacker is probably going to lose his eye.
Yeah, dude. It was nasty.
He's in a bind. Like his playing days are over.
Yeah, I was just sitting there looking at that, going, "Oh, no."
Man, it's funny too, though.
In the bathroom too.
Well, pick a better place, right? With COVID,
one dude just walks over him and takes a whiz with his beer in his hand.
Yeah, they'll get over it.
What was great about it, though, and what I liked about it is the two smaller, the grapplers, I'll call them, they were not pushing that. It was all the bigger guys pushing it. And, I mean, one of them even took a slap to the face, and that was what did it. But they were trying to get what I have recently been told is a higher level win. Like, talk all the noise you want, I don't care. Then somebody put hands on them, and they ended that fight.
It's out the door.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. Loved it. So anyway, some of the good things with the gyms. What's happening?
It's been a year.
It's been a year.
You were on
Has
our
it been a year?
5th guest, I think, over a year.
Yeah,
wow.
It's been over
probably
a
year and a half now.
Yeah, I think we briefly touched on it. I think most of what that was about was at the time we had a bunch of stuff going on.
You were just transitioning to the new building, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. You just acquired it, or
well,
something.
And so a year later, right? So I think when we first started, just to kind of go back down to some brief history, downtown White, right across the street from the loft. So any listeners that know, I mean, that's right where we were at. It was a fantastic location. It's where we got a lot of people, but I mean, within the first few months, we were at 60, people, and we were like, geez, we don't have any space.
Yeah.
As luck would have it, I say luck. There's big blessings involving who I call now family. I mean, individual I don't mind naming, the Copeland family, Charlie Copeland. He had some property out around that way in Kentucky town and decided, hey, give us an opportunity. He essentially bulldozed a childhood home and built a steel building out there that that we could use. He had some plans to renovate it and do some stuff with it. Kind of just our capacity kind of just put it into overdrive. So he opened it up to us, and we've been out there ever since. Kind of been on more or less a kind of a renter's capacity. And a year ago we were outgrowing the old place, and then now a year later we're outgrowing this one.
Yeah.
I mean,
good problem to have, though.
Yeah, man, it's a good problem to have, but I fear that we're going to kind of be running the gauntlet when it comes to space versus enrollees. Yeah, probably simply just if nothing else because of the price.
I wonder. Yeah, well, but that's something too. I mean, I think you're a prime example. We talked about this on the last episode when you were in. Was you wanted to make a thing where a family could come and train together and it not break the bank.
Yeah.
But that's also financially advantageous to you. Everybody wins, right? You've got a booming business, and then people can afford to train with their family, and everybody's happy.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You're right. The only downside of that is the real estate market in the area. You're student happy, space poor. And that's kind of what we ran into downtown Whitewright, one of those little studio buildings down there. You've got very little square footage, This place here is kind of the same thing. I mean, we jumped in. I think we went from like 800 square foot of mat space to 1,700 square foot of mat space, and it's already not enough.
Right.
So anytime you're, anytime you're manipulating the prices as far as the market goes, you're going to see something on the back end of that. I think one of the biggest reasons is because, like down in Dallas, if you go down to Dallas, DFW, really you go anywhere for that matter, full-time jiu-jitsu is running about $150 a month.
Yeah.
Per athlete.
And it's not weird to see it above 2.
No, not at all. I mean, some of your bigger academies, anything down in, and I say 150. I mean, generally what I've started to see is that you get out of the Metroplex proper.
Right.
Princeton, you start getting into those outskirts. What are outskirts now, which will be a part of the Metroplex in another 10 years. They're now at about 150, and the prices have continued to go up.
Right.
Everything that's in the Metroplex is 200, $225, maybe a little higher per athlete. When we sat down, I think our biggest thing was that when my wife and I were talking about doing this, we were like, well, we want to sit and looked at the prices, and I thought, I'm going to figure out a way, to make this work at half what everybody else charges.
Right.
And like I said, there's been good and bad with that. The good with it is you're student happy, or student, you got a lot of students.
But you're always looking for a bigger space.
That's it, man. Yeah, you're always trying to find a space.
Let me ask a question too. There's a lot, just from my small knowledge of the jiu-jitsu community, there's a lot talk about like lineage and pedigree. Are there bad jiu-jitsu gyms out there?
Let me be careful what I say.
Sure.
Bad in the way of
quality of training.
Quality of training. In my opinion, yes.
Sure.
There's got to be yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be remiss if I said there wasn't. There are, and I think what that comes down to is that's on the part of the consumer.
Yep.
Is because there are some people out here who will go to an online class or whatever the class may be, or they'll find some other thing that they can do to get a certification or a piece of paper or whatever. Next thing you know, they're going, well, I know karate, or I know taekwondo, or I know this, or I know that.
Right.
But now I'm going to add a little jiu-jitsu class to make a little money on the side. And I think the way that would kind of take care of itself is if people were versed enough in the art and the history of it to come in and ask what an instructor's lineage is, and go, hey, is your lineage, what is it?
Right.
Tell me about it. Explain to me where you come from, how you get, how you come to be a black belt. Because I guess, black belt is recognized as the authority, right?
Sure.
So if you got anything short of that, it's kind of like,
right.
So,
but that's also not necessarily true too, right? I mean, there's blue belts, purple belts, brown belts that teach classes and are completely capable, right? Depending on their lineage.
And that's another big difference in jiu-jitsu is that I guess it's kind of customary in jiu-jitsu schools for. You got some purple belts, brown belts teaching classes. Sometimes you got blue belts teaching kids classes, things like that. Generally, because you look at it and you go, well, in a lot of other arts, you'd be a black belt in 3 years or 2 years.
Right.
Well, the average time to black belt in jiu-jitsu is 10 to 12 years.
Right.
So a person that's been training for 3 years, case in point, my assistant coach, she's been training for almost 3 years now, right? And she's still a blue belt.
Sure.
Still the first belt.
Right.
trains 4 or 5 days a week.
Sure.
So that capacity there, I mean, they're very well advanced.
Sure. Now, you had a little bit of an accelerated path to black belt, but you trained like all day, every day just about, right?
Yeah.
When you weren't at work.
By default, I think because I was ignorant, number one. Didn't care if I lost everything.
Right.
And number two, just because of my situation.
Sure.
So it was, I mean, for me, it was like, 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. I
Sure.
know that's hard to believe, but I mean, literally a schedule for me was, because I was working at the police department, I had to be at the briefing table at 1:30 or was it 2:30? It's 2:30 to 10:30.
Right.
So I would get up 8 o'clock. I'd be at the gym in Plano by 9.
Right.
9 o'clock to 10, had a private session with my coach. Then it was 10 to 11. 11:30 was the morning class. 11:30 to about 12:30 was noon class. And then I'd run over to the station, take a shower, be at the briefing table by 2:30.
Right.
So.
Bet you were in shape.
Man, I was, but I was fat before that.
Hey,
but
five
I was fat.
5 hours of BJJ, man.
Yeah, man, it was. Yeah, I mean, I was big into powerlifting too.
Oh,
so
okay.
I mean, I think when I started,
Well, powerlifters are fat guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't run around the block. I remember, man, it was when I first started jiu-jitsu, it was a couple of weeks before. I think I had to do my my qualification as a mile and a half, and you had to do it in like 16:48.
Right, which is not blazing fast.
No, it's not fast. I thought, well, okay, I'm just gonna go out. I lived over here in Whitewright, and I thought I'm gonna run outside. I'm gonna get prepared for this. And man, I think I made it about 3/4 of a mile, and I was about to throw up, and that took about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought, there's no way I'm gonna make this.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, I started jiu-jitsu, and then I think about a year and a half after that, I'd lost about 60 pounds, 50 pounds, something like
Jeez,
that.
man.
So.
Wow.
And I've stayed down there since.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Never fat. Never going back.
Man, I've been fat, fit, fat. Fit.
I have too. Up, down. True life yo-yo.
Yeah, so
It happens.
But I'm on that.
Every day is
downswing
the
again.
fattest day I've ever been.
always
much.
seeking the height of it.
Yeah.
I always said that like if I got to 250, that it's too much,
Yeah.
And January 5th, I stepped on the scale. It was a Sunday night. Stepped on the scale. It was 249.9. And I was like,
yeah,
gotta do
We're
it.
done.
And I got up
Yeah.
the next morning, started the whole fasting and running and all that. So
I don't know why. See, yours is a good round number.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Mine's always been 219.
well, okay.
It's like it seems like as you hit that 20, it's no coming back. Right? So,
Yeah.
so I go to 219.
What is it about 220?
I don't know.
To be fair to me, I'm 6'5", all right? So
Yeah, I'm
Give me a
5'10".
couple
I'm
pounds.
5'10" and a half. Maybe.
You're a little taller than me, probably.
because the
Yeah,
truth is,
so-
219 I'd probably be happy with, really. Honestly, I'd be happy with 250 if it was the right kind of 250.
Right, yeah. If you're all yoked up and swole,
Right. Yeah,
right.
and can
But
still run 100K.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I look like 5 pounds of crap in a 2-pound bag. So, yeah.
For me, man, it's just like I realize I can't move anymore. I mean, I'm getting older.
Yeah.
So it seems like every pound I put on, at least when it comes to jiu-jitsu,
Right.
I'm keeping up with these. I'm keeping up with youngsters now. Now I kind of feel like the way my coach used to, right? So I was 24, I think, or 23 or 24, somewhere around there when I first started.
Right.
And my coach was 8, 9 years older than me, and he's like, one of these days, boy, and he's just whooping my butt every day. And I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna catch this old man. It didn't happen for years till.
But now you're
now
in
the
his
roles
shoes.
reverse, right? Now I've got these youngsters coming in off the streets that are 20 years old, all jacked up, and here I am, 41, still gotta keep them in line.
Right.
Because what good am I if I can't? They're
No,
not gonna
yeah.
believe that the art's worth anything if I can't compete.
I went
So-
through the fire academy when I was 27, I think, and it was. I won't name any names, but when we were doing PT, and we actually had like legitimate hard PT, and but our chief and officers that were in charge of said PT were fat and out of shape. And,
That's crazy, isn't it?
and it was like, it was a little disrespectful, like they're like, oh, you can't do another push up,
But you can't do one.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I've done 50 already, like, man.
Got to keep up, man.
Any thoughts of adding any extra, any other arts, any other disciplines?
Man, I'm an obsessive person. So like right now is the pursuit of judo
Oh,
for
okay.
me.
Yeah.
That's that, and I had done it before, so I kind of had a knowledge in it.
Sure.
I started with sambo back
That's
in the
Russian?
day. Yeah, man, it's got some similarities with it, and I think it comes out a lot now in the no-gi aspect of it. So when the kids come to no-gi and they're like, well, they're all, professors teaching us how to break ankles and knees. That's where a lot of that comes from. Is just the lower leg game. So, that was kind of where that influence led, and then I got away from judo for a long time until training with one of my other coaches, Alan Shabaro. And he kind of came out of nowhere, man. Just started back in judo, and next thing you know, he comes in, he's throwing me all over the gym. And I'm like, yeah, this is worth it. And I had never looked at judo before, other than just more of a stand-up art. But when you augment that with jiu-jitsu,
well, it is complementary, right?
It's very, because jiu-jitsu is all about ground game. We teach some takedowns, but they're very chopped and screwed. They're kind of bastardized, for lack of a better term. So when you go to a pure judo school and you get a hold of guys like one of my coaches is Olympic Mongolian medalist. I mean, he's or Mongolian Olympic medalist. He's a bad dude. When they get a hold of you and you realize, my ground game's good, but I got to get him there. You realize where your deficiencies are. So
I was just introduced to a new martial art that I knew nothing about. I trained in it for about 3.5 hours a couple weeks ago, called Sayat Kali. From the Philippines. It is knife fighting.
So I'm kind of hoping that my coach listens to this, because my coach is JD Shelley, and he's all about that. I mean, Salat.
Yep.
Kali. It's all Eskrima, Filipino martial arts, stick and knife fighting. It's deadly.
This thing for me was it was all based around the guy that was training us was all he's all about protecting your family, right? He was like, you carry a gun, right? Well, you should also carry a knife, kind of thing.
Right, always.
And he was like, because most of us are right-handed. A lot of people try to trap your right hand. If you've got a tool on your left hand, then you're a problem.
Double deadly.
So we spent, it was 3.5 hours, and I walked away from that 3.5 hour session feeling much more capable. I still think back on it, and I still have the moves. And it's like, man, that's if I can learn that much in 3.5 hours, what can I do in 5 years?
And if you're like me, you looked at it, I watch my coach and I go, I remember doing some knife stuff with him and going, dude, if anybody ever pulls a knife on me, I am smoking them.
Right. Oh,
I don't care how close they are.
100%.
Knives are so nasty.
Yeah. But I also feel that way about like pepper spray. If somebody pulls pepper spray on me, I'm smoking them.
Very similar. I mean, boy, those knife guys that are really good with edge weapons, and it's just devastating. No amount of jiu-jitsu or other martial arts even worth considering against stuff like that. And that's
what the guy that was teaching us that, working on it with us, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's been a long time practitioner, and he was like, I love it. And he was like, it is 100%. Everybody that's here should go start training jiu-jitsu. And he was like, but this is a great addition.
Oh yeah. Without a doubt.
I'm friends with a guy on Facebook who's a jiu-jitsu
connoisseur.
I'm not gonna. Whatever. Anyway, he's in New York and went into the city, as he does for his work, and got held up, mugged, robbed, something like that. But anyway, put all of his teachings to use, and basically it was like, don't do this again.
Yeah.
And pretty much slapped him around, assuming the story's true.
Mm-hmm.
Not slapped him around, but put him on his way.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. And you've seen a lot of videos.
You ever been in a situation, either one of y'all were?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, it notwithstanding, the professional capacity stuff, I mean, that's kind of goes without saying. But, yeah, it's been something I've relied on numerous times. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why, I mean, like, especially being around here, such a small community, being out in public, I mean, anything can happen, especially like if you're out at a bar or something like that. It always seems to be stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where you really get kind of tested to the max. You go to a concert or something, and it, somebody that's, drunk acts stupid or does something dumb. And
y'all are both suspecting, but I like it when somebody unsuspecting, is well trained and just
like those grapplers at the.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's the thing about jiu-jitsu is most of them are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I know at least for us. I've told this to a lot of people. This funny thing is there seems to be a mentality with people that are elite in sports, or they're perceived to be elite, or others perceive them to be elite. They come into martial arts, and most of them fail. And I'm talking about largely. I mean, this is not exclusive to kids or whatever. This is kids, adults, whoever. It's mostly I see it manifest itself with kids. Parents, man, is just that's another thing. That I was kind of I was surprised to deal with parents in a coaching capacity, but you see these kids come in that are just elite baseball players. Or
I was going to say, is that because they're not getting like that immediate satisfaction of like hitting a basket or hitting a shot or like
or being praised,
or maybe
maybe
you know.
So I guess I could say I've got
You
kind
can go
of
out
all
and shoot and
sides
have
of
a good game and go
Yeah,
home
yeah.
going, oh yeah, I just did what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
Where you're
they
more of
impose their
like,
game.
You're learning slowly. You know,
Yeah, I
gradually
think,
over time, right?
So like I can see that from both sides because I've got my oldest daughter. She's kind of that one that every sport she ever touched just kind of turned to gold. She was good at all of it, right? She was really good going off to play college
That's
ball.
me too. Don't worry, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Just kidding.
that was never me. I mean, so there's a lot of kids that are like that. My oldest is like that. My middle one's just kind of average, and my youngest one, God bless her, she's terrible.
No.
I mean, it's just sports is just not her thing, right?
Sure.
She was the one that wanted to run around and wear a tiara, and so you take those kids and you put them into jiu-jitsu, and then you get one of these kids that comes in off the street. Their parents are generally pushing them to try it, right? You need to be well versed in this and that. And they'll bring them in, and they'll go up against. I hate to say a kid's name. I won't even say the last name. Let's say Leah, for instance, right? Leah, hands down. You know Leah. She's hands down probably one of the best athletes I have. Now she happens to be good in everything.
Sure.
Now she's an example of what happens if you take a kid that's good in a lot of things and you throw them in there. They'll bring these boys that are much bigger than her.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll go, and they'll get out there and roll. They expect them to just right away be good at that too.
Right.
And unfortunately, jiu-jitsu doesn't work that way. Nobody walks in off the street and is just right away picking it up and beating everybody.
It's
it
like
just does
learning
not
a
happen.
language.
Yeah, it is. You don't know the first thing about it. So when I put a girl on you, and she either chokes you or armbars you or does something to you, and the parents are over there mad, or they're, I've actually had parents yelling and screaming at their kids after, rolling sessions because they're like day 2 or 3 into a class, and for some weird reason they had this expectation that they were just going to come in and just mow down everybody, and I'm like, it just doesn't work that way.
Well, and the funny thing is too, what they need to realize is there's value in that too. There's value in your kid not excelling right now,
man,
and like let them trust the process,
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, mine, like my youngest, I mean, she, like I said, we really didn't have, after she played softball for the first time, we're like, look, this kid just doesn't have the desire to do it.
I know, yeah.
And really, it's just not her game. I could tell it right away. Her mom played college ball. She knew right away. So we started her in jiu-jitsu, and there were times where it was a fight, but now that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
She's not the same kid now.
Sure. Sure.
So, I mean, it's anybody running off the street, kids her size are much bigger than her. I can do the same thing with her,
right.
And so getting the parents to understand that this is not so much, it's a martial art by definition, but it's a trade by practice.
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
Well, I mean, I love it. Talking about that, I joke about my oldest Wyatt. He's our mathlete, right? He's
right.
Bless his heart. He is really good at academics, but I love watching him when he's rolling. The first time that I really noticed it, he was in a compromised position with a kid that was better than him, and he fought his way out of it.
Right.
And that was super impressive to me. He was tough. I could tell he was uncomfortable, but he just
pushed through.
He pushed through, and I was like, man, that's worth it all right there, other than riding the pine at the baseball diamond or whatever,
Oh, sure, man. And that's a big deal. Like for me, I try to tell every, we have now, because you guys have been there, you haven't seen it, but now we have, I guess what you call an orientation video that I kind of show all the parents, trying to get it out there to them and go, look, this is not baseball.
Right.
This is not football. I'm not going to take your money and then teach your kid for 3 months and then kick them out, and then hopefully I'll see them again next year.
Right.
2, I'm qualified to teach what I teach, unlike a lot of youth sports.
Sure.
3, you're purchasing a curriculum. You're purchasing a program. You're not doing anything other than that. You're buying a trade, and if I put it to them like that, the trade aspect of it, they go,
seems to.
So it's no longer just a recreational thing.
Right.
Now it's along the lines of, okay, it becomes down a measure
Tool.
of, it's a tool.
Yeah.
Is it affordable? Is it something? Yes. Is it affordable? Does the worth outweigh the cost if they miss a week or two?
Right. Yeah.
And what happens if they miss a week or two? Do they fall behind? No.
If I get held up on the street and I start doing suicides, I'm getting held up.
Yeah. Start doing walking lunges.
I think that's the point you're making here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like, for instance, like if you guys, I wish I could. You guys get to travel. You guys get to do a lot of stuff as a family. Unfortunately, I'm not in that same boat right now, but the thing is, we have a lot of families that do that, and so they take their kid. Like right now, our attendance is going to be nil, right? It's
spring break.
It's spring break.
Yeah.
Most of those kids are going to miss,
Right.
and then they're going to come back and they're not going to miss a beat
Yeah.
because it's just we teach a new technique every night.
Sure.
It's not like, oh, because you missed a week, you all of a sudden don't know jiu-jitsu,
Right.
or you don't get to participate because you missed a week, right?
Let's just get back out there.
That's it. In jiu-jitsu, it's individual achievement. You don't get to blame anybody because you have a terrible night of training.
Yeah.
You don't get to make excuses if somebody chokes you or you have to tap out. There is none of that. You can't do it on the street.
Yeah,
You sure can't do it in the training.
I like the fact too that we started a couple years ago, so my youngest was pretty young, and he's still kind of, he's 6, almost 7, maybe a little on the immature side. It's going to be interesting because he's definitely the more like athletic of the two. And it's
Yeah,
gonna
you can see it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when he catches that maturity a little bit, and I'll be glad
Yeah,
to
you
see
will.
that.
There'll be a day where you go in there. It's that aha moment. I had it with my daughter.
Yeah.
When you look at it and you go, I guarantee you've had this conversation with your wife. You go home and go, I don't know what he's picking up. I don't think he's picking anything up.
100 times, yeah.
And then you watch him, and then he gets a hold of a brand new kid,
Right.
and you get that that comparison between 2 years ago and then now.
Right.
He gets a hold of a brand new kid, and he's on his back choking him or trying to armbar him or whatever else. You're like, okay, we'll see that makes sense. And if you buy into the fact that there's 365 days in a year, you just give me 1% a day is all I ask.
Right.
And most of these kids, fortunately enough, I've figured out that their attention span, the vast majority of them, is 15 minutes max.
Right.
I kind of moved our the way we teach and the way we cater to the kids and the way we try to get their attention around to the point where I don't want them burned out on it.
No, yeah.
Like I did.
You don't want it to be boring, man.
No, man, no. I remember doing Taekwondo back when I was a kid, and my grandparents had to drag me kicking and screaming to go to Taekwondo. I hated it because it's that whole stand at attention, they're screaming at me type thing.
Yeah.
Periodically, I'll ask the parents. I'll go, "What happened right before you came up here?" A parent, just any parent.
Right.
What happened? Well, they're beating me to the car.
Right.
Well, if my kids are not doing that, then there's something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, my kids are the very often we get I don't want to go to basketball practice or whatever, we've never one time gotten I don't want to go to jiu-jitsu. Not one time.
Take me through like an 8 to 10-year-old beginner class. Like what's involved?
Well, so here's another one of my big philosophies that I've caught some flack from the
community at large.
Well, the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah.
So I'll take you to a class and remind me to tell you kind of why I do it this way. So we start our class. Everybody lines up on the wall. Now, some people agree with this, some don't. I do it. It's my school. I'll do what I want with that. But I'll line them up. We say a brief prayer. It's not a requisite participant. You don't have to say participation. You don't have to say it. You can just sit there and just be quiet as long as you want. I make no specific references to anything other than just please be with the athletes, nobody get hurt type thing. It's not out of the Bible. It's my own. We call it the Viper's Prayer. It's my own thing. And right after that, we get about 10 minutes of warm up, which is just basic jiu-jitsu drills.
It's the worst part of class for me.
It's the worst part for everybody, man. It's the
why
worst part
open
for
mat's
me.
so popular.
Everybody
There's
loves
no
open
warm
mat.
up.
Like, I want to go to open mat. Yeah, so the kids, they'll get a warm up, and then it's 15 to 20 minutes of technique, and then after that, they touch hands and start up, and we roll. Tuesday through Friday, generally we'll do that. Friday, they know it's 15 for 45. It's an hour-long class, and oddly enough, Friday is the hardest day, but it's the day that has the most participation.
Oh, yeah.
Because guess what? We get to play afterwards.
Yeah.
What kids don't want to come in and do 15 minutes of dodgeball or 15 minutes of jiu-jitsu and then an hour or 45 minutes of dodgeball? But the funny thing is with that is I can tell every single one of them, if you don't go 100%, you don't get to play.
Right.
And, they're out there trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
They're literally trying to kill each other. So
my kids
dodgeball
love Fridays.
is fantastic.
Cool.
So that's a basic class. It's pretty simple. Keeps them interested.
Yeah, no, I think the whole philosophy of not burning them out is crucial because they love class anyway, but they live for Fridays. They want to.
Yeah, man, they got to want to come. I mean, you can't force somebody to do something, especially you guys know as parents. I mean, you can't force a kid to do something very long and they just eventually shut down.
Well, especially when it's an uncomfortable thing. I mean, a lot of times jiu-jitsu is uncomfortable.
Sure. So. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we try to expose them to little things. There's several big moments for every jiu-jitero, man. It's that first time they get choked. They feel that arm across their throat, squeezing their throat. It's scary.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get them all through that and tell them it's okay. Let's go again.
I think I saw you go to sleep once.
Probably a couple times. Yeah, I got some mean students that don't like tapping when they get to let them work on some stuff. He's like tap tap tap. Out
That's
you go.
their chance.
That's
man.
it, man. I'm gonna put him out. I got his back. He gave it to me. I'm gonna get it. But yeah, man, it's it's really good to work them through their stuff. Work them through their. I try to identify every one of these kids. Kind of their breaking point where everything they're scared of and try to push them through it. That's the main thing. Find it, identify it, bust it. And if I can do that, then it makes them better. I want them to lose. I mean, and that's a big thing about jiu-jitsu is parents come over and they're like, because they don't win for months in grappling, they're not winning. Well, what do you mean? They're not winning. They're not beating kids. I'm like, it's hard to convince a parent that you really don't want them to win.
Right.
I don't need them to win. I need them to lose every single time they can, because unless they lose over and over and over, they're not going to learn to win. Right. I don't want somebody to come in off the street and be fantastic at this.
Right.
I need them to lose and see that choke they get caught in 1,000 times to learn how to get out of it or to avoid it. One time, they're not going to learn nothing. So it's kind of that perspective.
Sure.
It makes it difficult.
Well, I think it's incredibly important now because just the climate we're in, the world's not getting any safer. So for me, I look at my kids, and if in 10 years, if we're consistent with this, where will they be in 10 years? I mean,
oh man, yeah.
Especially, I think both my kids are going to be kind of big. So
yeah.
Geez, what's up?
I mean, take a look at, you've got a basis for comparison. I mean, your youngest, he started at, was he 4 or was he 5?
He was 5.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely
No.
5.
My youngest was 4. My oldest was 6.
Yeah. I mean, so, you look at that and you want a basis for comparison I mean, look at Train. Right? I mean, 10 years, and that'll give you an idea of just what they're capable of. And that's just nothing.
He's pretty salty.
It's just nothing through reps.
Yeah.
Just repetition after repetition. And another thing I was going to mention is I said, remind me to to say this. I'd forgotten, but I catch a lot of flack from other coaches and people that are like, why do you do it that way? Why do you have mixed classes as far as age groups?
Right.
So I don't put, say a 5 o'clock class is my 4 to 6 year olds, and then my 6 to 8, 8 to 10s. I don't break it up that way. I don't believe in that, simply because it's one of them things where I've built this thing to be a family from the start, right?
Sure.
And I try to run it like that and keep everybody involved, because it's the type of thing where, like, when you have dinner at night, you're not going to take your 5-year-old and put them in the living room away from everybody and go eat dinner. You're not going to be exclusive of kids and go do your thing and leave them off and not have nothing to do with them. So, when we train together, we train together for a reason, and it's so that the youngsters can see the older ones, how they behave. The little ones can work with the bigger ones. The bigger ones learn to have, they learn
restraint.
To have patience, restraint. They learn how to treat littles, the little athletes like a big brother, little sister, vice versa. And the young ones learn, don't act out. Don't do this.
Because big brother might choke you out.
That's right. And the biggest thing they learn is a sense of respect through the belt system.
Right.
So I mean, they learn to respect the belt. They learn to respect the ranks above and below them, and it works out a lot better.
Yeah. Now, talking about not mixing your classes as you grow, there's going to probably be at some point where there's going to have to be some sort of delineation just from logistical purposes, though, huh? Unless you get a bigger spot.
Oh man. So I'm not gonna. So yeah, I would say so.
Add locations, maybe. I don't know.
I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep quiet on this subject.
All right. All right, that's fair.
I'm gonna keep quiet on this subject for about another 30 days. I'm not gonna. I don't want to. I wanted to have some sort of an idea which way I wanted to go with this discussion, but right now I'm gonna refrain from discussing anything like that.
Sure.
Just on the basis of just not knowing the future.
Sure.
But I see some big things in the future.
Well, that's good.
I see some very big things in the future. That I can guarantee.
Excellent.
Well, I've always told Matthew, like, we sit up here with the podcast and stuff and dream about winning the lottery. And I said, man, if I ever win the lottery, I want to build a big old jiu-jitsu gym.
That's it, man. See, that tells me we're right where we need to be.
Yeah.
That's it. I've had a lot of people come, they're like, man, we just need more space. The biggest issue is parking, and it gets crazy up there.
And you hate to buy a place to make a parking pad out of it. It's like, I got to buy 3 acres and have a building and then the rest of it be parking,
Man, before we got into this place, I looked in White Right area. It's just going to be crazy. I mean, you can't find anything. There's not very many things that will accommodate a jiu-jitsu school.
Sure.
You need to have a facility that has what we have and to go. I mean, I've always told everybody that my all-in number is 200 students. Mm-hmm. And, man, we got to 150 before COVID hit. And
has that all-in changed a little bit now? Like,
no,
well, maybe 500.
No, it was, the all-in's still been 200, man. And I'm still looking at that. But, man, when we got to that number, just like the other night, I think we had 36 or 38 adults on the mat.
Jeez.
We had guys standing over on the concrete going, I don't have a place to roll. Well, that's a problem.
How much floor space is 200 people going to require?
Well, I think if
not all at the same time,
if you have,
clearly, but like to
on average of say 40 to 50 per class. Because I mean, I don't know if you're at 200, so maybe it is 30 to 40 per class.
Yeah, I think so. Like right now, just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, where we're at. I mean, we dropped down to about 120 now. We've lost about 25 people, and some of those came in right along that time. I don't know if you remember, I ran that promotional where it was the free sign up and a free month and all that through the COVID thing, and we had some people sign up throughout that time, and then and a big number of those dropped just because it was just free and they did it anyway, and we see that. But I think on average, it seems like for every 100, you'll have an average of about 15 on the mat a night. That's a rough average.
15%.
15, maybe more. I mean, it's like the other night we had 36 or 38 on the mat, and we're at 120. So there's some nights where everything the stars align and we're just completely packed, right?
Sure.
But to answer your question, I think to hold that, you'd be looking at anywhere from 30 to 45 people a night on the mat. You'd need a couple thousand solid square feet for sure of just mat space.
Wow.
But there's places, there's options, there's things.
You need to do it Chuck Liddell style and just build a pit in the middle of a field,
Wouldn't that be great, man?
Until July or August, then it's miserable.
Yeah, then it's miserable.
He was in Central California, I think. So.
Oh man, and there's I've got a dog, Alan Chabarro, a little bit because I came from that gym, and that place is it's a meat grinder. I love it, man. Right. There's respect to him. He's an unbelievable person. SF guy. You'd love him, man. Yeah. Just hardcore.
Third group guy, I think.
Yeah, hardcore to the bone, man. Love the dude. Great human being, but man, his gym. I mean. It's the best you're going to get in the middle of the summer is one of those fans with the sprinkler on it. Yeah,
we have one up here.
Best you're going to get, man. And it is hot. It's hot.
Yeah. Hey, man, there's value in that too.
Now, my people, they go train somewhere else and they come back. Oh my God. So, it's got that spraying insulation. Great air conditioner stays down around 62, 63 during class.
I love the cultish.
Yeah, we keep it cold.
Mentality of jiu-jitsu though. I have started seeing a personal trainer at Lifetime Fitness in McKinney, and the manager, the girl that I signed up for, she is a rabid jiu-jitsu practitioner, and her husband,
women, dude, let them get after that.
Well, her and her husband trained together, and he was like an NFL athlete. And anyway, she's constantly, I'll see her at the gym when I'm working out, and she's got like black eyes and stuff. And I'm like,
beat up.
Do I need to call somebody? She's like, no, it's jujitsu. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Man, it is, dude. It's you've seen it. I mean, it's it's definitely kind of. I'd say cultish is a good thing. It's completely it's a subculture all its own.
I mean that in the most positive way.
Oh, it is though. So. It's a very different group of people. Sometimes people that. The people that you least expect come in off the street,
right?
Judgment, just looking at people can be deceiving. They'll come in off the street and you think they're not going to stay around. 3 years later, they're one of your best students.
Yeah, it's interesting. a big part, I mean, so I've got all the normal excuses of why I backed out. I was really, my job was taking a lot out of me, but also too, I was extremely out of shape, and it bothered me, probably my ego, to go in and suffer through warm-ups. Like, you know, like, geez, man. So I made the plan, I say this as I'm about to pop a barley pop, but I made the,
Notice I'm refraining.
yes,
I'm doing
you
good.
are. You
I'm
are
doing the best
good.
I can
Good
to
restraint.
keep this weight off.
But for me, so like, big part of this, you know, I'm gonna go do my military duty and come back, but I've been getting in shape. So when I go back, that I'm not suffering through warm-ups, and I'm more flexible, and I can roll. And I find myself, as extroverted as I am, I'm a social person. I love to go out and talk and hang out. At jiu-jitsu, I'm kind of a wallflower. And I don't know if it's because, you know, just lack of skill and, you know, how much of that's ego
Man, you want
or
me
whatever.
to tell you why?
Why is that?
Because here's the thing. So it's really weird. It's just like anything else. Like you go to the military and you find that acceptance, that period of time. It's almost like within jiu-jitsu, there's that period where people go, okay, who is this guy?
Right.
We're not gonna really open up yet.
Sure.
A lot of times they're really, really cool. They're just quiet.
Yeah.
You know, just quiet. But it takes a little time for them to kind of, you know, bring you into their little counterculture.
Right.
And some of that can be environmental too. You know.
Well, I think a lot of it's intrinsic to me, because like even in the military, when I mean, look, I was 19 when I went in to the Air Force, and I went from being a kind of a coddled middle class kid to, you know, basic training, but I kind of dove in head first, and it was fine. And now anytime, like I'm going up to Fort Dix, and we're going to do CQB for like 2 weeks, you know, and I'm confident in my CQB skills, so
So you're good to go. You'll jump right in.
I'll jump
and
right
see,
in.
that would be another big thing for you is
Yeah.
if you could, you know, if you just jump right in with them, and it's just you never miss a beat.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of them things. And I had experience with that as well. I mean, when I got on TAC, I was a tactical officer as well, and I kind of experienced that too. I'm a little bit more of an introverted person, and even
Right.
in that capacity, it didn't have anything to do with being unsure. It was just new people.
Sure.
It was something I didn't know,
Right.
and so I was pretty closed off. And I think ultimately that really didn't help me.
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu, you're exactly right. I mean, you start up, you got it. There's kind of a little fraternity / if it's the girls, they got their own little sorority thing going on, and that's huge. I mean, geez. And so, you know, you deal with them. You kind of either make your entrance
Right.
out the gate, you know, or you kind of just stand back, and yeah, you're right.
No.
I'm usually quiet and listen to the guy that talks a lot.
Yeah.
Like the guy that always talks too much. I'm like, why is he talking
we got a couple
so
of
much?
those.
That's why we're that's why we're good friends.
You know, like just judging everybody. Mainly the guy that talks too much.
Are you being a little passive aggressive right now?
No, is that you?
Is it?
That's
Are you the guy that
Was
talks?
it the look on his face?
Yeah. Sorry.
What? No, that wasn't
not
directed
me.
at right now. That was just like in every group of nobody knows
Oh.
everybody. There's the one guy that
Yeah.
talks too much.
Oh,
and
there
I
always
usually
is.
sit
Yeah,
back,
we got a couple of those.
100%.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
We got a couple of
Be
those.
quiet.
Yeah.
It happens.
I'm an
man.
observer.
I
Naturally, I'm an observer.
I'm pretty naturally extroverted, but yeah, man, I tend to hug the wall and not jump in, but I'm going to make it a point to not do that.
Yeah,
that
man,
next go round.
you'll be all right.
Yeah.
You'll be all right. Warm-ups are kind of a beating. They kind of suck.
Well, it's now that I'm down some weight, it's going to be a little bit easier. I've been running a
It's
little.
always fun to watch people do the warm-ups on the day one. It's
The
always fun.
stupid side somersaults though, man. I get like spatial disorientation. I can't figure it out.
You think I don't, man? I do. Trust me.
When's
I've
the last
been
time
doing
you
it
did a
long enough.
flip off of like a diving board or something?
Flip's not a problem. I can do a flip
Really?
all day long.
It takes me forever
I
to
could
figure out.
If you had a diving board
No.
right there, I'd go do a flip right now. It's this particular warm up that you kind of bend over and you roll sideways, and you're supposed to end up the same way, but I always end up doing some sort of backhand spring or something.
You give it a week, you be rocking and rolling. man.
Well,
It's
we'll
it.
see.
It doesn't
I'm,
take that.
I'm going
long.
to practice that before
That's
I come.
That's it. Get your boys to do it for you.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
good at it.
Yeah, they are. Walker's like a little monkey, man. Who
Oh, yeah.
gets in there.
He's doing good.
Man, I got to brag on Walker. We went down to my brother-in-law's ranch this weekend. He just bought a brand new, beautiful ranch. And Walker got a splinter in his foot. And my brother-in-law, I don't know, he's a dentist, but we're like, well, you're a doctor, so you get to pull the splinter out, you know. And it was pretty gnarly. And so he asked the question. He said, "Is it going to hurt?" I was like, well, it's probably not going to be comfortable because, I mean, he's in there with tweezers, and it was subdermal, dude. It was in there.
Got to dig it out.
I said, we gotta see your cold face, you know? So he went there, man, just went blank. And my brother-in-law, Robin, got in there and was digging around, and he started kind of breathing heavy, but he was cold. And then he kind of gritted, and he said, I can't do my cold face. And then it came out.
That it out.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive for a 6-year-old. It was pretty gnarly because I was watching it going, ugh.
Handle it.
But anyway.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. Anything else, man?
Oh, man.
We're at 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that went by quick.
It does, man. It always does. We had RC Kuhn up here
Yeah.
last week, and he was also our second. That's his second episode. He's Leonard's most senior man. He's 98 years old.
Jeez.
He drove himself up here, walked right up in this place. You know, like
Rocking and rolling, man.
looks like he's 58.
Told us he'd whip us and left.
Yeah, he did. He said, I probably whip you.
He said he could whip anybody older than him.
That's what he said.
Anybody older? Well,
Yeah.
So
you're
probably
gonna go.
true.
Let's find one in Leonard.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. No.
No, man.
Know anybody in their 90s?
in their 90s?
It's hard to find
jeez.
folks in their
No,
90s.
man. Not right offhand. No, I need to get one in jiu-jitsu. I know that. I got some guys that like to think they're 90.
Get to have the silver sneaker program at Jiu Jitsu.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
I got some that are competing this year. They're in their mid 50s.
I got a buddy that's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, lives in Colorado. He's like 54, 55.
still competes.
He's not the most fit guy, but he's pretty good at jiu-jitsu, and he competes. I mean,
I'm kind of the same way. I'm pushing everybody that comes in. I'm like, man, get out and just try it and see.
Is
what
it
you can
Naga?
do." Yeah, we got. Well, it's just exploding. Jiu-jitsu has just exploded. I mean, there's little tournaments. It's
the ultra running of
Do
2020s.
you go to tournaments and compete like as your jiu-jitsu outfit?
Yeah,
Your gym.
as the
as
school,
your
as the
gym.
academy, yeah.
Okay.
I think last time we had 26 or 27 people turn out and fight, and then we had, we did Naga. We've done. I think the next one we're doing is in like 3 weeks. We're doing another. Most of them are local, but the end of this year we're going to hit Tennessee. So we're going to try to finish out with a big one in Tennessee.
Cool.
Just travel as a unit and see how it goes. And
it goes from everything from white belt to black belt.
yeah, man. I mean, it's generally, if it's one of the bigger tournaments, all my kids will compete the first part of the day, then my adults, and then I'll jump in there last. And
We went to Disney World on July 4th weekend a couple years ago, and it was a completely, like, the whole place was sold out to martial arts.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Huge event. Yeah.
Interesting. Who's recognized now? I mean, I'm sure it's a Gracie, but who's recognized as like the living grandmaster of jiu-jitsu?
well, and it's getting it's starting to spider out because a lot of them are, they're aging out or they're passing away. Elio's gone.
Sure.
So most of the most senior Gracies, they're either red belts. I think they passed the red belt down to Hickson.
Okay.
Right now, so he's going to be one of the authorities, and it's splintered right
Yeah.
now. So you got two distinct factions between the families that it's kind of splintered off. And
Is it bad blood or just logistical splintering?
I think it's been back and forth.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you really sat down and looked at the history and you wanted to get a good history of it, a guy named Robert Drysdale, if you got some time to do some research, Robert Drysdale, he's a well-respected jiu-jitsu practitioner, black belt, world-class guy. And he's written a book
Oh, cool.
on this that just came out. I've actually ordered it off Amazon. I'm waiting to get it. So if you want, I'll give it to you next.
Yeah.
But it details the entire history of jiu-jitsu, and it's not quite as it's been reported that the
Really?
Gracies are the biggest name in the whole deal. I mean,
They just had the best marketing.
Well, that's
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turned out that they had the best marketing tactics, and that's where it came from.
Right.
So sometimes history isn't always.
Yeah. It's
Sometimes it's a little abbreviated.
written by the winners,
That's
and they
it,
won the
man.
marketing campaign.
Yeah, I mean, and they were
Yeah.
the most. Honestly, they were the most aggressive.
Sure.
And,
Well, and I mean,
it
let's-
served them well.
Let's also not pretend that they don't deserve some of that too. I mean,
Oh,
they're,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were pretty brutal with it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, history is when you're really willing to physically invade other martial arts schools and beat people down to get your art across to people that it's dominant. I mean, that's where the term Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came from.
Sure.
They wanted it noted that the Brazilians were the bad boys. I mean,
Right.
they wanted it noted that that's where it came from.
Right.
So very different, but yeah, we're gonna change the market, man. I'm gonna hope to get my ladies involved.
Yeah.
Keep them involved. We're building a big program right now. That's one of the biggest things that we're pushing for. So like you said, well, is there anything that I can think that's the biggest thing, man. Is 2021. We've got a one of my assistant coaches. She started with me day one, you know, I've kind of taken her capabilities and let her kind of run with it. And she's built a really neat little sub program in there called Venom Vixens, and she's got, you know, a dozen or more ladies involved in jiu-jitsu. And I think right now we're sitting right around 20% enrollment female.
That's
which
awesome.
Is cool. Which is phenomenal.
That is. Well, and it's such a great art for women in today's age.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Most of it is just, for us, is just building an environment that's not intimidating for women. That's the biggest thing. Because, you know, jiu-jitsu is historically a male-dominated deal. I mean, it's all about testosterone. But you put women in there and let them
wear their pink gis and
let them train together and just make it clear to the guys, hey, you know, women are here too. It fundamentally changes the environment, and they act like it's no big deal.
Sure.
It's nothing new. You know, they go to other schools and they're like, where's all the women at?
They're like, y'all have women?
We don't have any.
Yeah. Then that'll probably start recruiting dudes to your school.
Yeah. So I took them and let them run with it, man. I'm like, just do me a favor and get as many females as you can. And the good thing about that is we get folks like yourself, right? Who busy men, and if their women want to, you know, their wives want to go in here and train.
Right.
I have to be confident that, you know, I'm a married man, Christian man. I have to be confident that women are secure in my facility, that they have a good place to train, that they can pursue the art, they can do something. Because we got a lot of them that don't have anything to do, you know. And so if their husbands can be confident that they're in good hands, that they can train safely and not have to worry, most of the time we wind up getting the husband too.
Sure, 100%. Man, I tell you, it's funny. My wife grew up, wasn't really into athletics, grew up in Austin, and we know the demographics down there as far as the political bends.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So had never grown up shooting or anything. And I have, over the past 16 years, I have successfully red-pilled her. And she said, I want to get a gun, you know? And I was like, great, think you need to.
I want to get a gun.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Bill Burr.
Yeah.
That's a great deal.
She says, I want to get my CHL. I want to practice that. I want to become proficient. And I was like, okay. So I was kind of curious, you know, we went out, we got into the 42, right? And
that's a great one.
Yeah, it's great.
Love it. I want to get that one for my wife.
So we set up a little range at my house, and natural. And I think there's two things that come with that. One, I think women are better multitaskers than dudes are.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And two, she didn't grow up shooting, so she was listening to it was me and a buddy that were kind of instructing her, and she was listening, and she was safe. But like, man, just like great fighting stance already. It's just natural. And I'm like, if you got into jiu-jitsu, who knows?
No bad habits. You know, man, she was one of the first, because you guys first started, and I think Tanya had started just not too long before y'all came along.
We came because of Tanya had told us about it.
And so I remember talking to her, and I was like, bet money she'll be training in not too long. She's like one of the biggest flops I ever had. So if she would have been my first draft pick, right, I would have been a flop, because I'd have been like, I didn't get her. She didn't start training.
She has the desire. There is a hesitancy.
Oh, of course.
And we're working on that. So
do you put husband and wife against each other on the mats?
Man, so here's the thing with that. I mean,
we make it
well. You know, it's not. This is not your for your, whether it be for your kids or whatever. Have an altogether different approach. You know, like I ask any man what their biggest memory is of when their kids are playing like little league baseball, right? Youth baseball, especially here local. You get the whole tyrant that's in the dugout. You can't talk to the kids type thing.
Yeah.
You know, at our place, it's not like that. Like I try to have the husbands go, look, spend a few minutes with your wife. And at first, it had to be that way because there wasn't enough women on the mat. Well, now it's not like that. So it used to be that way where a husband trains with a wife because that's what they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
But the guy knows he's really not getting the best training because he has to train with his wife, right?
Yeah.
Type thing. So it's a self, you know, it's a big problem. It's
sure.
It's a self-perpetuating problem. It keeps coming back.
Self-licking lollipop, as we call it.
It just keeps coming back. Well, so when you get enough women on the mat,
then they can train together
then
comfortably.
You see the separation. Her husband goes and trains with his regular training partner, and then his wife's over here training with any one of the females that are on the mat. And then we kind of, like you said earlier, we separate the class.
So 2 years later, when they're both better trained, did they meet back up?
Yeah,
man,
that's
heard
the
some
question
stories.
I was asking.
I've heard some stories, man. You know, they're like, well, how did we settle an argument? We literally had a grappling match.
Yeah.
It was not. It was not. It was.
You've got to be setting
technique.
something up there where husband and
Yeah.
wife come up there a little irritated
It's
after a
fantastic.
long week.
Well,
It's better than
They just-
therapy.
it sure does make
Coy
it.
settles it for them. You know?
They're like, he said violence solves everything.
Right.
It sure does make it easier, though, when your wife trains jiu-jitsu, because when you go home with hickeys all over your neck.
Yeah, they're not
And,
like, where you been?
yeah, I mean, and you're like, it's easily explained. As I remember the first time I ever had to explain it to my wife, went home, and I had literally all down one side of my neck. I mean,
like
it looked like I had massive hickeys down my neck. And she's like, initially she lost her mind, and I said, no, this is, look, it's right in line with the collar. We were working collar chokes, and I mean, literally, it looks like hickeys.
She's like, but why do you smell like
I'm
booze?
40 years old. It's not a hickey.
Well. I mean, we went out and had a beer after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes it a little bit more understandable that,
Sure.
that those types of marks are legitimate in the art. But yeah,
It was glitter day.
yeah, man, it was good. But
Well, I'm going to get back into it for sure. I my little training weekend where I got to do the blade work. That dude's a super high speed Navy SEAL guy, and he said, you
gotta love those guys.
oh man, and he was a DevGru Navy SEAL, so he retired in 2014, and do the timeline on that, where he was.
Oh yeah.
He said, are you training? Because we had asked about arts and different stuff, and that's when he talked about jiu-jitsu, and I said, yeah, my kids are in jiu-jitsu, and he goes, you're not training? And I said, no, man, I dropped out, blah blah blah. And he said, why you want to fail your family like that?
There's just no better way to put it.
And
for
I was
them to
just
go.
like, God, okay, man.
Natural response.
Yeah.
You look at him and go, right. What you should have said is right before you answer that, go, look, go easy,
Yeah,
go easy.
exactly.
But
He also did this thing where the way he runs his range, it's not like, load 1 3-round mag. It's like, hey, load up, and then we're going to work through some evolutions. And he said, if I hear a dead man's gun, I'm going to, be irritated. So,
Oh, yeah.
And so one guy didn't load his mag properly. Click. And he said, you should feel a moderate amount of shame for failing your family. And the guy's like, yeah, I know, I got it. It's just somebody of his caliber too.
Yeah.
You want to be the cool guy,
Yeah.
So
yeah, you sure don't want to be that guy.
no. But,
That's a mentality. They're all like that. I mean, most of them, I guess.
Especially
at
at
least
that
the ones
level.
I know.
yeah,
they're like that. It's
he
just that
was a
mentality.
very intense individual, super Christian
Yeah.
dude. Moved to somewhere where there is a lot of conservatives and Republicans. He lives completely off grid.
So yeah,
completely.
definitely open spaces.
Oh yeah, and
no doubt.
he's a backcountry skier, and he was
Sure.
like, he's pretty much a prepper. Like he's like, dude, the 28 trillion is not sustainable.
Oh,
Like,
no.
So
No, yeah.
he I don't know. It was a very interesting 2 days I had with him. So
It's if the general public ever got an idea that they can buy into classes like that,
yeah,
this world would be a different place.
Oh,
What's
my
so
gosh.
funny is most of my friends, I've been to a lot of those types of classes,
Yep.
been around those guys. I mean, a number of those guys are real close personal friends of mine. A couple of them, one of them, he happens to own a jiu-jitsu school as well. So they're all kind of the same mentality.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of us, police officers, and you get guys that are kind of the higher speed end of that, and then you get those guys, and then the jiu-jitsu guys, they kind of find each other
right.
somehow or another. It's kind of a network.
Oh yeah,
I would never put myself and compare myself to those guys, but that you somehow, because
Sure.
of what you do,
gravitate towards
you
each other.
manage to find each other through that web.
100%.
And they're all the same. I mean, it's you run across them, and they're good dudes, man.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a great community. I mean,
I just after talking to him for 2 days, he crashed with us and everything, dinner and all, and he's lived a life that I can't wrap my mind around. And I don't mean, look,
and that's just like 2 stories.
yeah. I've been in and around special operations my entire military career. I know a lot of guys, but when you get to that tier 1 level, it's a different ball game.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, his life for 20 years was unabashed violence for
Oh, yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
And like, it's just amazing.
pull them out of it, and then you have what you have there. And
Yeah.
most of those guys are available, and that's what I was saying was, I've been to a couple classes like that. Now they're expensive,
Yeah.
but man, they are worth going to. Like if
Yeah.
you could ever get into like one of Mike Glover's classes,
Yep.
right? You can go. That guy, you can go to look at Sean Ryan on Vigilance Elite. You
Yep.
watch any of those guys, man. They are of a different mindset, and they put classes on for civilians
Yeah,
all
this guy
the
does.
time. And I've been police officer for 20 years, and didn't know that these guys, that this is what they do in their professional capacity, is train civilians. They don't train government. They train
Right.
civilians. You know,
Right.
they're former operatives, CIA operatives, and all that. And it's available. You just got to pay the money.
It's an interesting side gig.
Well, this guy,
It's unreal, man.
Or I mean, it's a career, but
yeah,
it's
it's his
unreal.
full-time gig, and he probably makes a pretty decent living based off what we paid. I was like,
Sure.
man, but
Yeah. So now, a quick question for you. I was
Yep.
like, what did you had, that was a class you had to pay for, I'm guessing.
yeah.
right?
So this was done. I have a group of friends that are like-minded individuals, and we've
talked about this before. I think.
Yeah, we wanted his perspective on our current setup and for a some sort of financial crisis if things were to go bad.
Right.
So we spent 2 days not only doing like pistol, carbine, knife fighting, but also comms and like food and defensive. So I mean, it was kind of a prepper symposium.
Yeah, that's bad though. I like that.
Well, and what is paying dividends is getting into his network, because he's like, look, there are people just like you all over the world, or all over the United States, and he said, I hang out with these people, so it's
Somebody to call on.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so there were things exchanged, and
It's like a tactical LinkedIn.
very much. And he was like,
Like
you know,
that.
y'all are the North Texas crew. I've got the New Mexico crew. There's this crew, and it's, I don't know. It was an interesting
building
couple of days.
relationships for
That's
sure.
what it was, building
For sure.
relationships.
It's
So,
expensive. I mean, but there again, it's kind of like anything else. I mean, you go out here and you get what you pay for.
yeah,
You
you
know,
can
I
pay
mean-
me $200 to show you how to shoot a pistol. Or you
Right,
can pay
right.
a little bit more and get this
I'm going to
guy.
run his campaign.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though, man. I mean, he's right on point. I mean, when you want high speed training, you go to high speed people.
that's right.
I mean,
And
that's just the way it is. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, and the worst thing out there that I see is the guys that kind of they branch off into areas that they really have no real experience in, right?
Right.
And that's been my biggest philosophy in anything I do is stick to what you know.
Yeah.
And don't do anything outside of that. You know, like we don't train MMA up there for what reason? I'm not an MMA fighter.
right.
I am a traditional jiu-jitsu practitioner. That's it. I don't purport to be anything else.
Sure.
Those guys, I mean, obviously there's a whole hell of a lot they can do with what they know, but that is what they know. He's not out here trying to sell you business secrets, right?
No,
He's
no,
just
no.
doing what he does.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to admire people, man.
Absolutely. He was. It was fun. It was a good 2 days. It was.
Yeah, well, give him my
enlightening.
name, man, and let me know how much it costs next time you go to
I
that,
will.
because I want to be a part of that. I
will
don't know
for
what
sure.
things like that run. I know. We were looking at doing a deal with. I reached out to try to see if I could get in on one of those deals with. Now I forget his name. I'm saying God, he's a skin in Call of Duty. What I forget his name. Ronan.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Ronan.
the Ronin Warrior guy. Ronin Tactics.
Yeah, Ronan Tactics.
Yeah.
Man, dude, I wanted to go to one of
Yeah,
his.
he was a SEAL, wasn't he? SEAL or a Green Beret, one of the two.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was Delta, but I think he's I think he was Army. He wasn't a SEAL.
Right.
But he puts on a lot of really, really good stuff, and his stuff is way more, from what I understand, because I know guys that went through it. His stuff is way more affordable than like going to Mike Glover's deal.
Right.
Mike Glover's Delta, CIA operative, and all that type of
Yeah.
stuff. Sean Ryan puts on some really, really good classes. And another one that you might want to look at that is very affordable and he's really, really good is Lucas Botkin, man. If you know him at T-Rex Arms.
Oh, T-Rex. Yeah, that's how.
That
yeah.
kid,
Yeah.
I remember watching that kid when he was little and going, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, because he's straight civilian.
Yeah, he has no military.
But he
has,
gets a lot of props.
Dude, watch him flow with that pistol and a carbine,
know,
dude. Watch
I
what
know.
he can do. They put him against that little Asian kid. He's a police officer. He's a tactical guy. He's real super fast shooting. I'll remember his name in a minute, but he keeps right up with it, man. This kid, hundreds of thousands of rounds, man, shoots competition, and he's just a civilian.
Man, that's
He
crazy.
knows what he's doing, man. But he goes to all those classes, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I mean,
It was great too, because I've been in for almost 20 years, and like I said, in and around special operations for the majority of my career. Having this guy, he looked at my kit and assessed my kit and the way I set my body armor up and the way in all this, and he was like, "I like what you got. You need to change this, this, and this, and let me tell you why." And it's like, that's
little
so
stuff.
practical.
Yeah, little stuff you never thought
Why
about.
didn't I think of that? You know. But it's because my life isn't violence like his was, you know.
Oh,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah.
It was very, very enlightening.
Don't
Enjoyed
think
it.
that way.
No accounting
Yeah.
for experience, man.
That's it. That's
No
it.
accounting for
So,
experience.
well, we are now an hour and 10 minutes in.
Man.
So
Great times.
Coy Clements, Sidewinder Jiu Jitsu
Great
in
times.
Kentucky Town, Texas.
Yeah, man. Yeah. White Right.
Yeah,
Tom
White Right.
Bean.
How do you register?
Metro.
Do you come by? Do you call? Do you go to the website?
We just did a complete revamp on the website, man. So go check the website out. I am the web developer on that. I like to say I did really well. I endured like 30-something hours of YouTube terrible classes to learn how to do a little bit of that. So I'm actually quite proud of that. There's still little bugs in it.
So is it sidewinderjujitsu.com?
It is sidewinderjujitsu.com. Go to it,
How
check
do you
it out.
spell jujitsu?
JIU.
JIU.
JIT.
JITSU. Yeah.
Cool.
Go to it, check it out. Man, we're a little different too. We've got an online academy. And I don't mean online. If there's any jiu-jitsu guys go, you got online academy, get your belt in. No, not that at all. It means you can actually watch the videos. You can actually watch the classes remotely from the HQ. So, like, if you're signed on to that and you miss a class, you can actually sign into your account, purchase a monthly account. You can get into it. You can actually watch what's being taught, so you don't go behind.
Yeah, then work on the
Like
work
live
with the training
feed or
dummy.
recorded?
No, it's going to be
and just-
recorded.
yeah,
We have the capacity to do live feed. We just don't have the equipment yet.
Sure.
So, and we're kind of waiting to see what the future holds and how much we want to jump off into that. But yeah, we have the ability to sign in. You can purchase the online, and you can sign in and watch all the classes. So like for you, if you decide, yeah, I'm going to be gone, I'm going to be doing some more high-speed stuff, high-speed low drag stuff, but I don't want to miss the class. You're sitting around, crack a cold beer and watch jiu-jitsu for the night. Don't miss the technique. And
Probably
so-
better time spent than watching like Yellowstone or something, you know?
Oh, but that's a bad series.
It is.
Though, man.
It is.
Golly.
It's just like redneck Sons of Anarchy. Though. You know?
It kind of went down a rabbit hole.
I haven't seen the third season yet.
Well, I kind of got started on it. And I'm like, oh, I got to hold off on that,
Yeah.
man. The other one was Last Kingdom. If you haven't watched that one, Last Kingdom was really good. Really good.
That's
It's the
Viking?
the Viking one.
Yeah, so Bernard Cornwell, I read all the books, and the series is just as good. Like, I mean, I was a little skeptical. I was like, okay, they're gonna redo this book.
Well,
but it was good.
Through season 3.
We just started watching Fargo.
Yeah, Fargo's good too.
Well, now that was a
excellent, by the
spin-off of
way.
the original just movie.
the movie,
right?
yeah. Was a
Now they've made it into a whole.
who did the movie?
I don't know. That's after I do the series. Haven't seen the movie.
original movie back in
with
the.
Steve Buscemi in
Yeah,
it.
haven't seen it.
I always wanted to say that was a Coen Brothers movie.
It might be.
No, it is.
It
yeah.
is. Yes,
Is
it
it?
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
that's
Is it?
right.
Okay. I mean, anytime Steve Buscemi's in it, you
Yeah.
know, that whole crew, that whole little tight knit unit, those
Yeah.
are all Coen Brothers.
Who
movies.
did the like Cormac McCarthy novels? No Country for Old Men, all that.
That was
Because I always want to say that's Coen Brothers, even though I get them mixed up.
Yeah. Man, I thought it was.
Maybe it is.
Is that not Rodriguez?
No.
The Texas
that-
guy.
is
Like
it the
All the
same-
Pretty Horses. He did all of the Cormac McCarthy novels. All the Pretty Horses, The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada, No Country for Old Men, the Border Trilogy.
Was I want to say No Country for Old Men was the same thing as The Way of the Gun and
Maybe. We'll
same.
have to look it up.
Yeah, I have to look it and see. I can't. I get them mixed up. I know I'm a big fan of Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah,
Love 'em.
Absolutely.
I love them.
What about the Wachowski sisters? No, sorry. They used to be the brothers. Hey, they're rebooting The Matrix, though.
They
Michael B.
are.
Jordan.
Yeah, they are. They're
is
also
gonna be
making a
Neo.
Coming to America too. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the first one.
Yeah, that was a
Um,
good one.
I did just read a good book, though. News of the West, News of the World. It is Tom Hanks's first Western that he was ever in. So
Oh.
I read the book first, and the movie's out there. What are you going to say, Matthew?
No Country's Cohen.
Yeah,
I thought it was. See, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was a Coen Brothers movie.
Look at me. Look at me with my pop culture
There you
there.
go.
Yeah,
There you
so-
go.
Yeah.
Coy, we appreciate you coming in, man.
Man, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's been a
Yeah.
blast. Hope to see y'all again.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much, Coy Clements, Sidewinder Jiu Jitsu.
Very good.